Star Wars X-Wing Miniatures game came out a year ago or so. It took me a while to get excited about this game just because from what I saw about it online, the game looked very similar to Wings of War and Wings of Glory, two games that I own, that I played a lot, I like a lot, so what is the problem there? Maybe it seemed a little too similar. I thought, do I really need another game like that? Then of course I saw Wisdom and I realized that, yeah, it is not a matter of needs, it's a different thing. So it kind of looks like Wings of War, Wings of Glory with dice. I bought the starter set, and then guess what? I was waiting for the right moment to try it. A friend of mine sends me a message, asks me if I want to play with him, and this friend of mine happens to be the regional champion of this game, of X-Wing. So I thought, sure, why not? Why don't I just get my butt handed to me with a side of fries by the regional champion when I haven't even played a game? Which is exactly what happened. I learned the game, I played with him. The result was clear from second one, but I still enjoyed the game. Oh, I guess there's a little bit of a spoiler there about the conclusions of this video. In any case, let me show you how the game works, and then I'll elaborate on my opinions about the game. The starter set Star Wars X-Wing Miniatures game comes with 3 models. So, each model will have its own base, so that it kind of looks like it is flying in space. Also, each model will be associated with a pilot tile, which is removable. And what is cool is that each model comes with several pilot tiles with different stats, so that will increase the replay value of the game. For example, you could fly the X-Wing with that pilot, this pilot, these are the pilots. As you can see, numbers and symbols change, which is neat. Each model, or I should say each pilot, also is identified by a card with pretty much the same stats that you have on the tile, just better explained and all referenced in a way that you can keep close to you. You just put the cards in front of you, and you will also place other tokens on the cards to keep track of stuff that happens to your pilot and or to your ship. Each model also has a dial that you will use to select the maneuvers. At the beginning of each turn, all players select all maneuvers for all of their ships. So you commit to what each of your ships is going to do that turn. And you do that by placing the dial in a way that it shows the maneuver that you want to perform. The number indicates the distance that you want that ship to travel. The arrow indicates, well, the direction that you want your ship to travel. It can be, say, a tight turn or not so tight a turn, go straight. There are also colors. A white maneuver is just a regular maneuver without any further effects. You simply execute the maneuver. When you execute a red maneuver, you have to place a stress token on your pilot, well, on the ship, right there. I guess you can also place it on the card. I just like to place it there because it's easier to reference. You place a stress token there, and that indicates that you cannot perform another red maneuver until you get rid of that stress token, which you do by performing a green maneuver. Also, you will not be able to perform actions for as long as a stress token is on a ship that performed a red maneuver. After all players have selected their maneuver, have committed their dials to their ship, then you resolve movement, and you do that in order of initiative. There is an orange number on the pilot tile and the pilot cards, and you resolve maneuver in ascending order from lower to higher. In this case, for example, Luke Skywalker has initiative of 8, these guys have 4 each. They will resolve their maneuver first, and you have several templates that you use to resolve the maneuvers. Suppose, for example, that ship has been committed to this maneuver, then you get the straight template with the number 2, and you place it in front of the ship. There are 2 little guides there. I don't know if you can see them.
Here you can see them. You place the template so that it goes between those two guides, and then you simply slide your ship to the other end of the template, and there are two guides in the back of the model too, so that it tells you where you need to place your ship at the end. And suppose that this guy committed to this maneuver here. I don't know why he would do that, but that's what he does. And then Luke Skywalker goes and he has committed to this maneuver here. Alright. After a ship resolves a movement, the ship can take an action. And the actions are referenced on the tile and on the card of the pilot. They are represented by symbols. The eyeball here means that you can choose to focus for that turn, then you place a focus token on the ship that you're using for that action. You can target lock an opponent if you have the corresponding symbol and if the opponent is within your arc of fire, which is indicated by these two lines here, if the opponent is within the arc of fire and within range. For example, Luke Skywalker has that guy definitely within the arc of fire and definitely within range. To check that you're in range, you use this ruler here. So Luke Skywalker could choose to target lock the opponent, in which case you place a blue target lock on or by the ship that is locking on the opponent and a corresponding red token by the ship that is locked. And the lock stays there until the player that used the lock decides to use it or simply decides to drop it. And there are other actions. For example, the TIE fighters can barrel roll, which is a really cool move that allows them to pretty much sidestep like this. You can use an action to acquire an evasion token, which you will use during combat. Cool stuff, cool stuff. But, as I said, you need to resolve combat and ships will have the opportunity of firing against enemies that are in range and within the arc of fire. And you resolve combat in descending order of initiative. That is, for example, Skywalker has an 8, he will resolve combat first and then these guys will go. How do you resolve attack? You look at the number of attack dice that is given to you by that ship and that is indicated on the card as well as on the tile by the ship. And that number may be modified by factors, by actions, by things like that, by game effects. In case you get that and you roll the dice quite simply. If you have a focus token, you can also choose to use it during the attack, which in this case wouldn't be a good idea because in this case I rolled 2 normal hits and a blank. There's also a result which is an eyeball, and there's also a critical hit, which kind of looks a little too similar to the regular hit. I would have liked the critical hits to be a little bigger. In any case, if you spend a focus token and you had focus symbols, then you can turn those into hits, which is neat. If you have a target lock, you can spend the target lock to reroll as many dice as you want. Also, the number of attack dice that you roll may be modified by the distance. If you're attacking an enemy within range 2, then you just roll the number of dice that you normally would. If you're attacking an enemy at range 1, you get an extra attack die. So you roll your dice, you look at the result, then the opponent gets to roll defense dice, which can have blank symbols or evasion symbols, or also again focus symbols. Suppose that this is the number of dice that was rolled. For each evasion symbol that you roll, you annul a hit that the opponent has inflicted on you. If you spend a focus, then you can turn eyeballs into evasions. And if you are being attacked at distance or range 3, you get an extra defense die. After all has been said and done, you count the hits that have not been absorbed by evasion symbols, and that is the number of hits that the opponent must take. Regular hits, well, you take a card from the hit deck and you simply use it as a token. That's it. This card represents a single normal regular hit. However, each critical hit forces you to take a card and to flip it, and you read the effect, which usually is, well, it's pretty bad stuff. It is just additional negative stuff that happens to your ship, to your pilot, bad stuff. You really don't want critical hits inflicted on you. When the number of critical hits inflicted on a ship equals or exceeds the number printed here, the yellow number, that is the number of hull points, then the ship is destroyed. A ship may also have shields, and a shield may be used to reduce a hit. So first you reduce your shields and you absorb hits like that. Then you're only left with your hull points, and when those are down to 0, boom, you go kaboom. Even though you don't really go kaboom, you go, because we know that there is no sound in space. Nobody can hear you blowing up in space. And you play like this, alternating turn after turn, selecting maneuvers, executing movement, executing attacks, until either one of the two sides is completely eliminated, or if you're playing a mission, the objective of the mission is achieved by one of the players.
Do I like this game? Yes, I definitely like it. It is based on the same engine as one of my favorite games, Wings of War / Wings of Glory. It works well. It even has some advantages compared to that game. The dials that you use to select your maneuver are very effective, and they're much more practical than what happens in Wings of War, Wings of Glory, in which you have to go through your deck of maneuver cards, choose one, and you find it's misplaced. Sometimes it takes you a while to go through all of them. Much cleaner, simpler, practical here. Sometimes then I don't find the right template, but I guess that stuff happens. I still found that the game worked better even than Wings of War, Wings of Glory in terms of managing the mechanics. Luck factor, I find that there's more luck here than in Wings of Glory, Wings of War. However, that is definitely mitigated by playing battles with a decent number of ships. Here you build your fleet using points. Each fleet has a certain amount of points. Traditional thing, the better ones cost a lot, so you can get some of those. The opponent may get a lot of smaller, less good ships. That's a way to balance the two fleets. However, the problem is that, yes, there is luck. A good hit against an opponent, you roll well and the opponent doesn't roll the right defenses, that hit will place may destroy an enemy ship, which is thematic, which works to me. But if you're playing with only what you find in the starter set here, which is 3 ships, if this one goes down, this one it's hard to hit it in a single, to destroy in a single hit. But one of these can definitely be destroyed by a single hit well placed. What I mean is that with such a small number of ships, it is possible, even likely in certain cases, that luck will play a major factor, and that is a little anticlimactic. So that is to say that the game is good. I actually enjoy it. I enjoy the action, I enjoy the movement, I enjoy the bluffing, I enjoy the weapons, the customization. You can buy upgrades for your ships. I like a lot of things here. But what you find in this starter set, to me, is not nearly enough to really get a good sense of the game. I'm happy that I played the game with a friend of mine who has a large collection, so we could play good battles and I could get a good feel. I only owned the starter set. Now I'm going to start purchasing more stuff. Actually, this is the second starter set that I purchased. I just got the Millennium Falcon. I'll start building up my fleet, my collection. But that is the point. You can get started by spending not too much, but if you really want to try the game, I would just say if you want to get serious about the game, if you really try what the game is meant to be, you will need to spend considerably more, I think. Other than that, this is a good game. It is beautiful, it has a lot of detail, a lot of theme, the action is exciting. The lag factor, yes, is there, but as I said, with enough ships, it just adds that little bit of flavor, of excitement, of unpredictability. The game cannot be played solitaire in any way that is rewarding or satisfying because it is about secret selection of actions. But if you're willing to invest a little bit in this game and you have people to play with, then I think that this is a fun game. If you have Wings of War and Wings of Glory in your collection, do you need this game? As I said in my introduction, it's not necessarily a matter of needs. It is a matter of adding a fun game. Is it different enough from Wings of War, Wings of Glory to make it sensible for you to add it to your collection? To me it is. To me it is. It plays differently, the different weapons and the different resolution of combat makes it pretty much its own game. It feels like a variant, but it is a variant that I do not find redundant when compared to Wings of War, Wings of Glory. One last quick thing, actually, that is something that I have mixed feelings about, is about movement. When you end movement in an area that would overlap with the ship of an opponent, then you cannot complete your move. You have to retreat, and that, I guess, simulates 3D space. You're moving under that enemy, so it takes you longer to go there or above, stuff like that. Well, two things. One, yes, the game doesn't take 3D movement into account. It is pretty much 2D. The other problem is that when you know the order of activations of the ships, then you can play that to your advantage. That is, you can figure out more or less where the opponent is going to end movement, and you move before and you place your ship so that it gets in the way of that other ship. Also, ships that are adjacent to one another cannot attack each other. And what I'm saying here is that you can exploit the order of activations to create some gamey strategies, which is less than ideal to me. I think it could be corrected, maybe by playing a variant, by using, for example, some of the techniques that are available in Wings of War, Wings of Glory to resolve this. As is, that is probably the one thing that I don't like too much, but overall, that doesn't change my impression of the game. That is definitely a good game. I want to expand my collection of Star Wars X-Wing models, and therefore this is a game that I will play in the future.